There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Shawn Breathes Books. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm here with a one-off kind of different video where I have two shocking announcements in the life of Shawn Breathes Books as a reader, and then a call out for some suggestions and advice on the second of those two announcements. The first one I'm going to spend hardly any time on at all, but I will spend at least a minute or two. I have not bailed on any books in 2025. What the heck is up with that? Am I changing? I think I'm choosing more wisely. I feel a bit weird at letting go of that part of my identity as a reader, the Empress of Bailing. I'm about to lose my title, but I'm not reading as many books as I have in years past. And I think that is a good thing. I think the fewer books you read, the more deeply you read them. But I don't know what to make of that, and if you have any observations, especially people that have watched me and know my reading tastes and have known me through all the many bails that I did over the years, that would be interesting. But that's enough about that, really. I don't have much to say about it. The second announcement is where I want feedback and suggestions. I'm moving, as most anybody who's followed my channel, at least for the past few weeks, know, I'm moving into a house, a 3-story house, if you can include the finished basement, a townhouse here in Saskatoon. And I'm planning to fill it with books. Not rapidly, but I have a lot of books now, but there'll be a lot more space for more books. What I'm planning to do for the first time in my life, or at least since I was 7 or 8 years old, I am planning to organize my library. Are you sitting down? Can you breathe? I have never organized my library in terms of read and non-read, alphabetical, or by topic, or by area of literature. Never. Not once. Never. And so my library has grown since I moved back to Saskatoon 3 years ago. I had done a major cull of my library and shipped the rest of it from Tokyo to Saskatoon, and now it has grown a lot. And I'm moving into a house where I have room for it to grow into infinity. I've noticed in the last 6 months, or maybe even the last year, that it takes me an awfully long time to find a book that I'm looking for, because everything's mixed up. I have said, and it's a slight exaggeration, but there is a grain of truth in the following statement. It even makes me uncomfortable to have two books by the same author side by side on the shelf. But I'm going to turn over a new leaf. And let me tell you the system, such as it is, that I have devised. And I'd like to hear your ideas, anything that you think is wrong or should be fine-tuned or whatever. I may ignore all of your suggestions, but I do want to hear all of them. And I think this will be a fun video to make, and I think your suggestions will probably be just awesome. So, the idea I have, I'm not going to separate read and non-read, and I know that will make some of you watching this video crazy, but that doesn't make sense to me. And there are carve-outs, which I'll get to in a minute, but the main organizational, the rubric, is that the right word? I don't think that's the right word. The main system I'm going to use is a simple one, alphabetical by author. That makes sense to me. I have a good memory for authors and titles, and even if I can only remember the title but not the author, a quick Google search will bring up the author, and so that should be easy. And my books will be mostly in the finished basement, probably 50 to 60, if not more, % of my library will be there. And I'll have 2 or 3 bookshelves up in my den on the second floor, and only 2 special shelves for now in the living room to save my marriage. Here are the carve-outs. I've got a big shelf full of books that I haven't hauled yet, and those will stay. And I'll probably have at least another shelf of books that I'm working with, making videos about, that I want to have in one place. And this is one of the carve-outs, one of the exceptions to this alphabetical rule that I'd love to have some feedback on. I'm thinking of having 2025 up to date and all of 2024 books on a separate shelf or shelves in my den, in my office on the second floor, in chronological order. Because those are the books that I'm going to want to pull off the shelf, use in a video, refer to, want to find quickly. So having those in a separate system, to have those books at hand, and then it'll become a New Year's ritual to put the previous year's books alphabetically to the main system, and that'll be fun. That'll be a geeky thing that I will love to do. So I'm thinking about that, but what do you think, and do you have any fine-tuning type suggestions? Or any drawbacks that I haven't anticipated about that? And those two little wooden shelves that my grandfather, who was born in 1898 and died in 1979, made for the house at the farm when it was built in 1945. He handmade these lovely wooden shelves, and they're in my living room. You've seen them in the backdrop of any video I filmed in the living room. Those are going to be in the living room in the new place on either side of the TV, I'm guessing. And those are going to be my favorite books of all time. Books that, if I have company, and I will probably have a bit more company than I have up until now because I have a house to entertain, and Kent, you might make some friends, and people might want to come and see me more often than they do now in this rather boring apartment compared to a lovely townhouse. Those books will be my favorite books of all time, and the books that somebody might notice and ask me about, and I would be ready to talk about them at the drop of a hat because they're my favorite books of all time. So that would be a special place in the center and the beating heart of my new home. So I like that idea. Other things that I'm thinking to tweak in this system that fit my personality is I'm going to put biographies about writers with the works of literature by those writers. So the Barbara Pym biographies, I have about 5, maybe 7, maybe 17 biographies of Barbara Pym. Those will go right next to the Barbara Pym novels under P. That makes sense to me, rather than doing them by biographer name. And I think I don't have much history. I've got a fairly sizable Indigenous history collection. And I have maybe some other works of history or whatever. Those will be alphabetical by country name. And I've just remembered I have quite a large collection of books about the British royal family. And I think those will be in one section. Are under royalty, I'm not sure, but something like that. The books that are thematic and nonfiction, I will group together. And I think the last exception that I'm going to make is, and it's probably going to be Korean fiction, Korean literature, and Chinese literature. Those would be the books that I'm least likely to remember the author's name, especially if I go by family name. So I might put all my Korean fiction under K, and all my Chinese fiction under C, as two exceptions to this general rule otherwise that the fiction and whatnot will be organized alphabetically by author. I think you have to really be into this stuff to have gotten to the end of this video, but that is as far as I've got with my new attempt to become bibliographically organized. So I would love to hear your comments, and thank you very much for watching.